A man's strength is not found in the approval of others, nor is it shaped by the fleeting opinions of the world. It is forged in solitude, in discipline, in the silent battles he fights within himself. A weak man bends to external forces, molding himself to fit expectations, chasing validation that will never truly satisfy him. But a Stoic man walks a different path. He does not seek permission to exist, nor does he beg to be recognized. He builds himself so completely that recognition becomes inevitable. Yet, even the strongest of men can fall into traps that strip them of their power. Many do not even realize they are making these mistakes, believing their actions to be noble when, in reality, they are silently eroding their own worth. Seeking approval, over-explaining, being too available, engaging in emotional arguments, failing tests of strength, apologizing excessively, placing women on pedestals, and making a woman the center of one's world, these are not simply bad habits. They are signs of a man who has lost control over himself. They are the actions of a man who has surrendered his authority, giving away his power without even realizing it. A Stoic man does not move blindly. He does not react impulsively, nor does he allow emotions or insecurities to dictate his behavior. He understands that control over oneself is control over life itself. Every decision, every word, every action must come from a place of internal strength, not external desperation. When a man lives this way, he does not chase respect, he commands it. He does not beg for admiration, he earns it. And in doing so, he becomes unshakable, immune to the trivial concerns that weaken most men. These 8 mistakes are the chains that hold men back from their full potential. Break free from them, and you will no longer be just another man hoping to be noticed, you will be a man who cannot be ignored. 8 things a Stoic man must avoid, a deeper breakdown. Number 1. Seeking validation. The man who looks outside for approval has already lost. A man who constantly seeks approval is a man who doubts himself. The moment you look to a woman, or anyone else, to tell you that you are worthy, you have already lost control over your own sense of self. A Stoic man does not need reassurance. He knows who he is, and that is enough. Validation is fleeting. A woman's admiration today could turn to indifference tomorrow. If your confidence is built on the shifting sands of another's approval, then you will always be at the mercy of their changing moods. Instead of seeking validation, build yourself into a man who naturally commands respect, without needing to ask for it. When you know your own worth, others will recognize it. Number 2. Over-explaining yourself. The more you justify, the weaker you appear. A man who constantly explains himself is a man who fears being misunderstood. He is trying to convince others of his worth instead of simply being worthy. If you made a decision, own it. If you took an action, stand by it. A Stoic man does not dilute his presence with excessive words. If a woman asks, "Why didn't you text me back?" a weak response is a long, nervous justification. A strong response is simple, "I was busy." That's it. Men who are secure in their actions do not feel the need to justify themselves. They act with purpose and let their actions speak for themselves. Number 3. Being too available. The man who gives too much becomes invisible. A man who is always available is a man who lacks direction. If you drop everything for a woman, you teach her that your time has no value. And if your time has no value, neither do you. A Stoic man does not neglect his mission for the sake of anyone. His time is his most valuable asset, and he spends it wisely. A woman will not appreciate a man who is always at her beck and call. She will respect a man who is focused, disciplined, and only grants access to those who have earned it. If you are always available, you become predictable. And predictability leads to being taken for granted. Number 4. Arguing emotionally. A man who loses his temper loses control. A Stoic man does not let emotions dictate his actions. If a woman is upset and trying to argue emotionally, responding with logic will not solve the problem. Emotions do not follow reason, they follow energy. Instead of escalating an argument, set boundaries and refuse to be pulled into chaos. If a woman tries to provoke you, remain unmoved. If a situation is becoming irrational, walk away. A man who can master his emotions is a man who can master any situation. He does not argue for the sake of winning, he speaks only when it serves a purpose. Number 5. Failing her tests. Every man will be tested, but not every man will pass. A woman will test a man, not to be cruel, but to see if he is who he claims to be. Life will test you in the same way. If you crack under pressure, if you change your stance just to please her, you fail. If she challenges your opinions, do not backtrack to avoid conflict. If she pushes your boundaries, do not cave just to keep her happy. A Stoic man does not need approval. He remains steady, unshaken by the waves of expectation. A woman will respect a man who stands firm far more than one who shifts his position to accommodate her. Number 6. Apologizing too much. Say sorry only when necessary, never as a habit. A weak man apologizes for everything. He says sorry when he takes up space, when he asks a question, when he expresses himself. But a man who constantly apologizes is a man who subconsciously believes he is an inconvenience. A Stoic man owns his presence. He apologizes only when he has truly done something wrong, not as a way to seek approval. Instead of saying, "Sorry for bothering you," say, "I hope you're having a great day." Instead of saying, "Sorry for texting you late," say, "Wanted to check in on you." Confidence is not in excessive politeness, it is in knowing you have nothing to apologize for. Number 7. Putting her on a pedestal. No one respects a man who worships them. A woman is not a goddess. She is not above you, and she is not beneath you. She is human, like you. The moment you put her on a pedestal, you create an imbalance. An imbalance leads to loss of respect. Admiration is one thing, but worship is another. Women respect men who see them clearly, who value them for who they are without losing their own sense of worth. If you act as though she is the best thing that has ever happened to you, she will begin to see you as less than her. A Stoic man understands that mutual respect is the foundation of attraction. Number 8. Making her the center of your world. A man without purpose is a man without power. The fastest way to lose a woman is to make her your entire world. The moment she becomes your purpose, you have given up your own. And no woman wants a man who lacks direction. A Stoic man has a mission that is greater than any relationship. A woman may walk beside him, share in his victories, bring joy and depth to his journey, but she is never the journey itself. If you make her the center of your existence, she will eventually pull away. But if you build a life so strong, so purposeful, so fulfilling on its own, she will naturally be drawn to it. Final wisdom: true respect begins with self-respect. Respect is not something a man can demand, nor is it something he can beg for. It is not given freely, nor does it come from mere words. True respect is earned, not by seeking it, but by becoming the kind of man who naturally commands it. And at the core of that respect lies one undeniable truth: a man who does not respect himself will never be respected by others. Too many men believe that respect comes from pleasing others, from being agreeable, from always putting others first. They believe that if they sacrifice enough, if they make themselves small enough, the world will see their worth and reward them for it. But the world does not work that way. No one values what is handed to them freely. No one admires a man who gives away his dignity just to be liked. A Stoic man understands that his worth does not come from external validation but from how he carries himself in every moment. He does not waste time proving himself to those who do not matter. He does not chase, does not beg, does not waver. His presence alone is enough. His strength is silent but undeniable. And because of this, the world recognizes it. The moment you stop seeking approval, you become the kind of man who no longer needs it. The moment you stop explaining yourself, you become the kind of man whose words are enough. The moment you stop making yourself too available, you become the kind of man whose time is valued. The moment you stop letting emotions control you, you become the kind of man who remains unshaken in the face of adversity. The moment you stop apologizing unnecessarily, you become the kind of man who stands firmly by his actions. The moment you stop putting others above yourself, you become the kind of man who moves as an equal. And the moment you stop making a woman the center of your world, you become the kind of man whose world is worth being a part of. A man's life is his own. His path is his responsibility. No one will hand him respect, power, or fulfillment. He must claim it for himself. Not by force, not by pleading, but by becoming the kind of man who no longer needs to ask. True strength lies in knowing that nothing outside of you defines who you are. And when you live by that truth, everything you once chased will begin to chase you instead. The path of a man is not one of ease. It is not meant to be comfortable, nor should it be. Comfort breeds complacency, and complacency is the slow decay of strength. A man who seeks an easy life will never build the resilience needed to withstand the trials that will inevitably come his way. The world does not reward the passive. It does not elevate the weak. It recognizes and respects those who have forged themselves through discipline, through hardship, through the unwavering commitment to become something greater than they were yesterday. Every choice you make either builds you up or tears you down. Every action either strengthens your foundation or weakens it. The man who bends to the will of others, who seeks validation, who explains himself endlessly, who gives too much, who argues emotionally, who apologizes unnecessarily, who places others above himself, who loses himself in a woman, this man is not living. He is reacting. He is a product of his environment, rather than the force that shapes it. You were not made to be a follower. You were not made to live at the mercy of how others see you. You were not made to shrink yourself so that others may feel bigger. You were made to stand. To carry yourself with the kind of presence that requires no explanation. To move through life with the certainty that you need nothing outside of yourself to be complete. To become the kind of man whose respect is earned because he first gave it to himself. Your life is your responsibility. Your growth is your obligation. You can either continue living as a man who pleads for approval, or you can take back your power and become a man who commands it. The choice is yours. But understand this, those who wait for permission to be great will never be great. Those who hesitate to claim their worth will always live in the shadow of those who did not. Elevate yourself. Stand with men who hold themselves to the highest standard. Do not lower yourself to fit into places you have outgrown. Choose mastery over mediocrity. Choose strength over comfort. Choose purpose over distraction. The world belongs to those who refuse to kneel before it. The question is, will you be one of them? If this message resonated with you, if you refuse to live a life dictated by weakness, hesitation, and seeking approval, then take action. Strength is built through commitment, through surrounding yourself with men who demand more from themselves and from life. Join the brotherhood of men who choose discipline over distraction, purpose over comfort, and power over passivity. Hit the like button to let the world know that you are not here to follow, you are here to lead. Subscribe to Ultimate Stoicism and take the next step in mastering yourself, your mind, and your life. This is not just a channel, it's a movement for men who refuse to settle. Drop a comment below and share your biggest insight from this video. What mistake do you see most men making? What shift in mindset has changed your path? Let's build a space where men hold each other accountable, push each other forward, and remind the world what it means to live with strength. Your transformation starts now. Are you ready?